Investigations and arrests continue. Although there is no international police force and the support of some states continues to fall short, the tribunal's investigators continue to tirelessly track suspects.
Pour obtenir l'arrestation, on n'a pas vraiment un moyen de pression.
We have no real way to exercise pressure to bring prosecutions. The only thing we can do is to sensitize the international community that set up this tribunal, that the tribunal can do its work only if it conducts trials, and that trials can be conducted only if people are arrested. It is therefore the duty of the international community to bring pressure to bear on states in order for them to cooperate, especially in arresting the accused and the other coercive measures that we could ask for.
Do you want some time?
The interest of the international community seems more focused on the other tribunal, the one dealing with the crimes committed in the former Yugoslavia.
I consider this tribunal a false tribunal and indictments false indictments.
Had the Arusha tribunal been based in The Hague, it would have received wider media coverage. It would certainly have been given much wider publicity, for let us not forget that it was the Arusha tribunal which was the first to try head of government in the person of Jean Kambanda.
After the first convictions were upheld, it was time to make arrangements for the execution of sentences. It's not enough only to convict, but the prisoners have to be incarcerated. On the 12th of February 1999, the registrar of the tribunal, then Agu Ukali from Nigeria, signed a first cooperation agreement with Mali. On 26th of August 1999, a similar agreement was signed with Benin. 1 year later, on the 30th of August 2000, Swaziland in turn signed a cooperation agreement and committed itself, like the other two signatory states, to host the convicted persons for the duration of their imprisonment. At the end of February 2001, after a 4-year mandate as registrar of the tribunal, Agu Okali, who had succeeded the tribunal's first registrar, Androniko Odede of Kenya, also left. The United Nations Secretary-General appointed Adama Dieng of Senegal to replace him. At the time he assumed office, the tribunal was undergoing important changes. Some months later, the deputy prosecutor, Bernard Muna, who had replaced Rakoto Manana from Madagascar, had also left the tribunal after 4 years at the head of the prosecutor's office in Kigali. The new registrar, a seasoned diplomat with wide experience of negotiating, first took up the task of consolidating relationships with member states.
Je déclare solennellement que je remplirai mes devoirs.
I solemnly declare that
the new registrar arrived just before the election by the United Nations General Assembly of 2 new judges, Arlette Ramaroson from Madagascar and Winston Churchill Makutu from Lesotho.
of the International Criminal Tribunal.
Monsieur le représentant du greffe, veuillez présenter.
The Secretary-General subsequently appointed Andrézier Vaz of Senegal to succeed Judge Leyti Kama, who had passed away in early May 2001. There are now 16 judges, including 7 in the appeals chamber.
I will now read out the verdict. Will the accused please rise? Verdict. For the foregoing reasons, having considered all the evidence and the arguments of the parties, the trial chamber finds the accused Ignaz Baglishema unanimously, in relation to count 1, not guilty of genocide.
The first year of the new millennium was marked by the acquittal of Ignace Bagileshema, former mayor of the commune of Mabanza in the Kibuye prefecture.
And of additional Protocol 2.
For the first time, a trial chamber in the course of a trial had been to the site of the alleged crimes. The bench, the prosecution and the defence travelled to Kibuye, to the commune of origin of the accused.
Count 7.
On the 7th of June 2001, Trial Chamber 1, presided over this time by Judge Erik Mercer of Norway, found Bagileshema not guilty of the charges preferred against him by the prosecutor.
Count 5, not guilty of crimes against humanity, other inhuman acts. Accordingly, the accused Ignaz Bagileshema is acquitted on all counts in the indictment.
He was acquitted and provisionally released the next day, after the prosecutor had given notice of an appeal against that acquittal. On the 3rd of July 2002, the appeals chamber confirmed the tribunal's first acquittal.
Please be seated.
Among the joint trials obtained by the prosecutor was the Butare trial, which opened on the 12th of June 2001. There is a total of 6 accused, all of whom were former leaders of the inter-regime of 1994, including former ministers and high-ranking officials. Among the accused is Pauline Nyiramasuhuko, the former Minister for the Family and Women's Affairs of Rwanda. She is the first woman to be accused of crimes of genocide, including rape, and is on trial with her son, Arsène Shalom Ntahobali, who had been a student in 1994.
Counsel has quite successfully read the second passage out of context.
The courtroom appeared too small to contain so many accused and all of their counsel, co-counsel and assistants.
C'est la première fois que vous dites qu'il y a eu 3 attaques à Rubona.
Trial Chamber 3 is now in session. Will the registrar announce the matter before us?
2 other joint trials followed. The Changugu trial of 3 accused, all of whom were former leaders in that prefecture.
Trial Chamber 3 of the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda.
And the trial of Elizaphan Ntakirutimana, a Seventh-day Adventist pastor, and the first clergyman to be accused of genocide, along with his son Gerard, a medical doctor.
When you were in the Muganero area between April and July, how often did you attend at that church?
The United Nations Secretary-General Kofi Annan, accompanied by the new registrar Adama Dieng, took the opportunity to visit the Kigali office of the tribunal at the Hotel Amahoro, the former headquarters of UNAMIR. Several convictions have now been obtained and 1 accused acquitted. The task remains to transfer those convicted, whose judgment is final, to serve their sentences. Mali, the first country to sign a cooperation agreement with the tribunal, agreed to incarcerate the first 6 convicts. On Thursday, the 9th of December 2001, Jean Kambanda, the former Prime Minister, Jean-Paul Akayesu, Clément Kayeshema, Obed Ruzindana, Alfred Musema and Omar Seroshago were flown to Mali to begin to serve their sentences. On the 4th of April 2002, one of the most important and keenly awaited trials began. It concerned 4 high-ranking officers of the former Forces Armées Rwandaises. They are Colonel Theoneste Bagasora, Major General Gratien Kabiliji, Lieutenant Colonel Anatole Nsengiyumva, and Commander Alois Ntabakuze.
Mr. Registrar, I notice that the accused are not in court.
Claiming procedural irregularities, the 4 officers refused to appear before the trial chamber.
Let it be absolutely clear, and I must emphasize this point, my client does not intend to boycott his trial. He will be present, provided his rights are respected.
On September 2002, the trial continued in the presence of the 4 defendants. The path has been long since the first arrests. The tribunal has changed since the outset. There are now about 800 staff members in all from over 80 different countries. Patiently and untiringly they make their daily contribution to achieving justice, the foundation on which peace and reconciliation can be built. The mission entrusted to the tribunal by the international community is nearing completion. Apart from the trial and conviction of the persons chiefly responsible for the genocide of 1994, the tribunal will have brought to the people of the African savannah, or the land of 1,000 hills, faith in universal justice. Any political, civil or military leader is henceforth answerable for his acts before the international community.
Participated in the planning, preparation, or execution of a common scheme, strategy, plan, or campaign with the intent to destroy the Tutsi by his own affirmative acts.
Thanks to the case law born of the tribunal, and from which many national courts have already drawn inspiration, the protective cloak of impunity has unravelled and laid bare those who have worn it for too long.
These are the first two tribunals which have been required, if you will, to apply a certain number of concepts, in particular to definitions of the substantive law of crimes against humanity, genocide and war crimes.
Africa has understood that ultimately nobody is above the law. Whether you're a head of state, army chief of staff, you name it. If you commit crimes, you'll pay for them.
Beyond their success, and despite all of the criticism, the ad hoc United Nations tribunals for the former Yugoslavia and for Rwanda have signalled the way forward for international justice in the new millennium. They have paved the way and have convinced the international community of the viability of the International Criminal Court.
Thank you.